Hold up. Why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play a roulette with each step I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bets. Cause we know who we at, we know we top tier. Cause all the hate that you bring, we know it stops here. I'm taking off like a rocket here, ain't stopping here. It's strange how they cannot see the future, but see profit here. Wait up, we gon' always win. I can't take no loss, my team hold no L's, no. Aiming for the top, can't make it by myself.
It's Friday, kids. Y'all ready for the weekend? I 100% am ready for the weekend. Baseball starts back up again today, after the All-Star break. Pretty interesting All-Star break. I don't know. A lot of the juice has been kind of squeezed out of the home run derby for me. A lot of the big stars aren't doing it. You know, some of the names people were like, who's this? Who's Junior Caminero? Who's Brent Rooker? So the home run derby isn't quite what it was in my youth, but I enjoy All-Stars festivities. I enjoy it. So baseball starts back up this weekend. Yeah, I'm ready for the weekend. We wanted to go with some Epstein stuff yesterday, but I'm glad we went with what we went with. And it's funny because I got comments in, my real life orbit about yesterday's story about the CPB funding being pulled back. And we're going to put a bow on that here today. It seems like they're really getting to things everybody is starting to care about because, most people in my life are not radicalized or far either way. Most people get bits of news here and there, and I get honest reactions from them. I don't get political talking points, tribal talking points from the people in my life, right? They're not right on this, locked into those far talking points. They just kind of talk to me how they feel about these things as they learn them, what they learn as they learn them. And lately, I've been getting a lot more people talking to me about decisions being made by this administration that are affecting them or they care about. The flooding response. What's happening here in Florida has been a big topic, and we're going to get to that. We're going to get to the center here in Florida, charming little place here in Florida. A lot of people were really shocked to learn about the redistricting in Texas and how it was shoved in a special session meant to address the flooding victims. That pissed people off. But this CPP, the broadcasting, the NPS, PBS, NPR, PBS, this really affected a lot of people in my life, and they really had a lot to say about it. They are not happy. Issue after issue after issue, and of course, obviously, the one big ugly-ass bill, and people being scared to death they're going to be off their Medicaid and their ACA. I mean, they keep making decisions that actually affect you. And I'm glad we went with it. And I'm glad we put a little pause on the Epstein stuff because it developed further. And yesterday and the day before, I'm so angry, right? I'm all fired up about the redistricting, and I'm all fired up about the funding for PBS and NPR. I'm fired up and I'm yelling and I'm pointing. Not today. Not today. I'm going to sink in and marinate in the Epstein hoax. Oh, it is developing beautifully. I can't get enough of it, and I'm going to enjoy today. Because this has really got Donnie triggered. He is flailing. I mean, he's completely triggered by this entire situation. And the more he gets pressured on this, the more his true self is revealed. The more he can't contain, put on any type of airs or posturing, and we just get pure, unfiltered, unadulterated Donnie. And as unsavory as that is, it's important to know what we're dealing with. Dems, people on the left, some independents, you already knew what we were dealing with. Now, MAGA and far-right Republicans are starting to understand what we're really dealing with as he attacks them over this. And now, we have new reporting from the Wall Street Journal. And this is a fun one. I mean, he got out and lied about this so quickly. So President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were at Mar-a-Lago in 1997. Okay, it was Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday party. And Maxwell was preparing a special gift to give Donnie from all of his closest friends. Okay, and Maxwell was collecting letters to Epstein from these friends, and she went to Donald. To write him a letter. Okay, now the letter bearing Trump's name, which was revealed by the Journal, is bawdy. That's their words. Like others in the album, it contains several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman. So he wrote him a letter, and the letter was contoured around the frame of a naked woman. That's how he decided to write his letter. It appears to be a handwritten by heavy marker. A small pair of arcs denotes the woman's breasts. That's just, to even read that gave me the ugats. It's creepy. Yes, I'm still watching The Sopranos. A small pair of arcs denotes the woman's breasts, ew. And the future president's signature is squiggly Donald below her waist, mimicking pubic hair. So where he signed it would be where the pubic hair of the girl he drew would be. That's charming. That's your president. It's our president. The letter concludes, "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." Now, Trump responded immediately, "This is not me. This is a fake thing. It's a fake Wall Street Journal story. I never wrote a picture. I don't draw pictures. I don't draw pictures of women. It's not my language. It's not my words. And I'm going to sue the Wall Street Journal just like I sued everyone else." We'll see. You don't draw pictures, Don? Really? You just got out and just lied. First quote about this story, first time you get a chance to talk about this, you lie. And it's not a tough lie to fact check. Like, it was a really bad lie, because here's some of Donnie's hand-drawn, heavy marker. Oh, let me do that again. There it is. Hand-drawn, heavy marker. Exactly like the one that was given to Epstein. All of these. Hand-drawn, heavy marker, signed by Donald J. Trump. Okay, so that was an easy one, Don. I mean, you're really lobbing us up softballs here. Honestly, that one's really easy to fact check. You obviously are into it. Obviously. You want to hear what the note said? No, you don't, but I should tell you anyway. I hear you. You don't really want to hear it, but here it comes. Now, this was written from the third-person perspective, okay? A conversation between Donald and Epstein, described third person. "There must be more to life than having everything," the note began. Donald: "Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is." Jeffrey: "Nor will I, since I also know what it is." Donald: "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey." Jeffrey: "Yes, we do, come to think of it." Donald: "Enigmas never age." I don't know who taught him the word enigmas. "Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that?" Jeffrey: "As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you." But he barely knows him. He's not a friend. Donald: "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." I cannot wait to hear the mental gymnastics that the most ardent Trump supporters go through to try to explain this away. And I don't want you to forget, now, in the face of what I just read you, an intimate letter, birthday letter from a friend to a friend. In the face of that, listen to Donnie talk about Epstein a little while ago, a couple years ago, I think it was.
I was not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Really?
And you watched people yesterday saying that I threw him out of a club. I didn't want anything to do with him. That was many, many years ago. It shows you one thing, that I have good taste.
2019.
Okay? Now, other people, they went all over with him. They went to his island. They went all over the place. He was very well known in Palm Beach. His island, whatever his island was, wherever it is, I was never there. Find out the people that went to the island. But Jeffrey Epstein was not somebody that I respected. I threw him out. In fact, I think the great James Patterson, who's a member of Mar-a-Lago, made a statement yesterday that many years ago I threw him out. I'm not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
That letter that I read to you was the letter of a fan to Jeffrey Epstein. If Donald wrote it, he's a fan. He's a friend. A close companion, clearly. They share secrets. Wonderful secrets. He's standing there lying to you, saying, I'm not a fan of his. Now, Donnie responded on Truth Social. Of course he did. Of course he did. Now, I'm going to give you some of this, but there's portions of this that are really interesting. The Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Donald J. Trump that the supposed letter they printed by President Trump to Epstein was a fake. And if they print it, they will be sued. Okay. So what he's admitting to right there is that he warned Rupert Murdoch, if you run with this story and you run with this letter, I will sue you. Keep that in mind. That's important because this administration absolutely cannot get their lies straight, period. So keep that in mind. Mr. Murdoch stated that he would take care of it, but obviously did not have the power to do so. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Caroline Leavitt and President Trump that the letter was a fake, but Emma Tucker didn't want to hear that. And by the way, all this President Trump, that's him writing this. That's Donnie talking about himself in the third person. Psychotic, demented, cognitive decline. It goes on. The press has to learn to be truthful, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so at some point, you definitely had a conversation with Rupert Murdoch, warning him not to go with this story, warning him not to go with this letter or you'll sue. That's very interesting. That's very interesting because J.D. Vance tweeted out shortly after, listen to this, forgive my language, this is J.D., forgive my language, but this story is complete and utter bullcrap. But he didn't say bullcrap. He's like Donnie's little brother, and he heard Donnie swear in front of the cameras, right? So now he's got free reign to do so, and somebody's got to come, some mother figure has to come and say, Donald, you can't swear. Look what you're doing. Your brother's mimicking you. He thinks you're cool. Now he's doing it. So now J.D. Vance thinks it's funny to cuss. The Wall Street Journal should be ashamed for publishing it. Where is this letter? Would you be shocked to learn they never showed it to us before publishing it? What? Your dear leader just said he warned Rupert Murdoch not to run with the letter and that he would be sued if he did. Then he doubled down and said, looks like Rupert didn't have the pull because they went with it anyway. What are you talking about, JD? He's got you out here flailing too. JD can't keep his lies straight either. Doesn't it violate some rule of journalism? He continues in another tweet, JD does. Doesn't it violate some rule of journalistic ethics to publish a letter like this without showing it to the victims of this hit piece? Will the people who have bought into every hoax against President Trump show an ounce of skepticism before buying into this bizarre story? And the tweets crescendo. And we're going to hear from some people about this when we come back. But the tweets crescendo. Trump, based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam perpetrated by the Democrats should end right now. Pertinent. Put a pin in that. Pertinent. We've also heard the word credible used. Well, maybe we'll have Pam Bondi release the credible evidence, the pertinent evidence. So it's going to be Trump's DOJ, Pam Bondi's DOJ, to decide what's pertinent and what's not concerning this file. Whoever's on this list, the flight logs, blackmail lists, it's going to be up to them to decide what's pertinent. I have an idea of which way they'll slant on that.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more.
You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Brett Breaks Things, fighting for America one mic drop at a time.
It's a birthday card, apparently, in a book of kind of birthday cards for Epstein's 50th birthday in 2003, I believe. So that's 15 years after Trump already knows Epstein pretty well. It has this, apparently it has this kind of typescript of an imaginary conversation. I could just maybe add to what you read, if it's okay. Donald. So it goes like Donald, : we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. For me, I mean, that's a kind of weird, what is enigmas? I mean, is that a word that Trump and Epstein used to convey something that they shared? I mean, we know that, so I think this will raise many more questions about how much how close Trump was, let's put it this way, to what Epstein was involved in.
Yeah, it'll raise questions. It'll re-raise questions we've been asking all along. Just how close were you to Jeffrey Epstein? I mean, we've all seen the videos. We've all seen them hanging out, leering at women. He and Ghislaine and Melania all together. We've seen it. We've all seen it. He knew him for years. They were best friends. Epstein lived right down the street from him. Right there. Palm Beach. They were neighbors. They were friends. They were confidants. We knew that. And this will re-raise those questions. It will re-raise them. It certainly won't have the effect that Don's looking for, which is, if you're talking about the hoax, you're not a real Republican. If you're talking about the hoax, you're probably evil. Why are you doing the Democrats' bidding? This is not going that way. Sorry, Don. Your perception is not reality. Not this time. Not this time. Now, that was Bill Kristol. He's an editor for The Bulwark. The Bulwark did some good reporting on this. Tim Miller, we're going to hear from him. He's another writer for The Bulwark. So we're going to hear from him.
Look, the Wall Street Journal does very meticulous reporting. Donald Trump has wrote a picture before, actually, as evidenced by a bunch of stories have come out on social media about how he liked to doodle. There you go. You're putting one on screen right now. And Donald Trump hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, here's the thing about this. Like, what's damning about this exchange is some of the language that is used, you know, about wonderful secrets and about how much they have in common. But, like, the fact that they were friends during this period, 2003, 2004, is not new. They talked about it. Both of them have separately, and both of them have talked about how they like young women. And Donald Trump has many accusers, and Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of trafficking young women. So, like, the new element of this is just it's kind of like, oh wait, yeah, here's a fresh reminder of just how close these guys were.
Yeah, it's a fresh reminder. It makes people go and get those videos, get the footage, get the evidence, recollect it, reintroduce it to the American public. You know, MAGA or staunch Trump Republicans, they might have been able to eschew those pictures as they are scattered across Trump presidencies, right? A couple Trump presidencies, isolated pictures, mentionings here and there. They're able to block that out, stiff arm that info, right? It's coming from the left-wing media. But now that they've been called out by Trump personally, when you reintroduce some of this stuff, it's a little more damning. Hey, some of you MAGA that might be a little butthurt about his recent comments, that if you care, he doesn't want you anymore. You butthurt about that? Here, just check this out. Once again, we told you about this years ago, but now take another look with fresh eyes in the face of your insult. Take another look. Tim Miller continues.
Look, again, the context around this, it's 3 years or so after this letter that Jeffrey Epstein gets arrested and indicted for his behavior with underage women. And so when you're writing a letter to somebody that has this big secret that they get indicted for 3 years later, and you are talking about the wonderful secret that you have together, I mean, maybe Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein are keeping other secrets besides the one big obvious one, but it seems unlikely. And again, to your point about Trump, the exculpatory argument for this is, I mean, it was not too long before this. Like, he was 40-something. He was dating the 19-year-old tennis star, Gabriela Sabatini. So, I mean, Trump had a track record of dating like just barely of age women and having an interest in that. And so, and he knew that Jeffrey Epstein liked younger women. He said that in another interview with New York Magazine. So, like you said, I mean, like there's a way to read this where it isn't specifically talking about girls, but it is deeply creepy. And it happens
Yes.
not too long before Jeffrey Epstein is indicted. And I think it also sheds some obvious light on why Donald Trump doesn't want any more information about this out into the public space, even though he had promised that he would.
And he makes a good point there, right? Like, what secret is he talking about? We know what kind of secrets Epstein kept. We know the weight, the egregious nature of an Epstein-style secret. So, okay, let's suspend disbelief. Let's say it was a different secret. Well, it certainly isn't a secret like hijinks, like they stole a Butterfingers from a Walgreens together. Shh, don't ever tell. Or they, dropped the watermelon off a bridge into oncoming traffic, or they, like even if it wasn't the Epstein secret, what other kind of secret would be weighty enough for him to mention cheekily in this message? Like, it's certainly not innocuous, whatever it is. But I think we know what it is. Like, the whole world knows what it is. Honestly, what other secret? And when you write a letter like that, you open yourself up clearly to us guessing at your secret. Thinking about, well, what secret could they be sharing? Obviously. Pretty intimate letter. It's a letter between friends. I think you'd agree. Now, where is it in Congress? Now, we know Khanna tried to put an amendment in a previous bill to get the files released. And then we know that he and Massey are working on some bipartisan legislation. It progressed, okay? It progressed to the House Rules Committee. And we heard from some people on this. It got pretty interesting, to be honest with you. Let's hear from some of these people. This is Scanlon, Mary Gay Scanlon. She's a Democrat out of Pennsylvania. All right, so we're going to open with this. Oh, of course, the sound on that one. It's every few videos, we've got no sound for some reason. It happens in the inner workings of the TriCaster. So the significance of what I was going to show you there with Mary Gay Scanlon is that while they were discussing in the House Rules Committee to possibly debate going to a vote to release the files, okay, a new amendment, while they were debating it, while they were talking about it, the Wall Street Journal report came out. So that was her saying, hey, Ms. Fox, can we admit into evidence, could we admit this Wall Street Journal report detailing this birthday memo? Okay, so that was the official, that was her in real time getting this Wall Street Journal report while they're discussing releasing the Epstein file. I hope the sound is good going forward. Now we're playing roulette with the sound on the videos. That's fun. Here's Khanna. Once again, he's been out in front of this. He's been the face of this in the House. Here's Khanna talking about the grand jury testimony about Epstein.
Involved, he's paying attention, and he said, okay, let's release. He directs the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, let's release and ask the courts to release the grand jury testimony. Here's the problem. The grand jury testimony is largely about Epstein and Maxwell, not about all the rich and powerful men who abused, assaulted, and abandoned young women. Those people are still being protected. And by the way, the courts usually don't release grand jury testimony. But you know what? The president is hearing the American people. And the president knows that if there's a vote tonight, this body overwhelmingly would vote for the release of the files.
30 seconds.
Additional 30 seconds. I need 10 seconds. This question is, whose side are you on? Today, the Democrats are on the side of the people. The Democrats are on the side of the children. There are 10 Republicans who are on the side of the people and the children, but the entire Democratic Party is on that side, and the Republicans have chosen to protect the rich and powerful men who've abused our children. It's wrong, and that's the clear difference tonight.
Okay, so there he is. Now, I don't want to get you confused. The amendment to release the Epstein file now is trying to be go along with the funding being pulled from NPR, PBS, USAID. Okay, that had to pass the Senate, which it did, and that went on to the House. And we discussed this before. To get amendments into the House, it's got to go through the Rules Committee. Okay, so some of these videos are from the House Rules Committee, and I'll keep you appraised. Some of these videos are from the House Rules Committee debate, and some of them are from the House floor vote to pass the cuts in the spending. All right? Now, it's important to note that in response to, while you're hearing this, in response to Donald Trump's tweets or Truth Social posts, Pam Bondi did reply and say, President Trump, we are ready to move the court tomorrow to unseal the grand jury transcripts. Okay? So that whatever that pertinent information is, Pam Bondi's moving to unseal it. Now, she has given that commitment, at least on Twitter. I want you to keep that in mind. Okay, keep that in mind. Here's Jamie Raskin talking about it.
Here's the gentleman.
To give complete discretion to the Attorney General to decide what should be in and what should be out. So it starts off by saying, whereas our resolution says all documents, records, and communications, theirs says all credible documents, records, and communications. Well, who's going to decide that? Attorney General Bondi, in conjunction with Donald Trump, who today said that a letter that he wrote to Jeffrey Epstein on his birthday, which is published, which says all of the indicia of credibility is not credible. That wouldn't be included. Let's release the real Epstein file.
Let's release the real Epstein file. So, Raskin sees a problem with this. He sees the same problem I see with it. They're going to deem what is pertinent, what is credible, what we should release to the American public. And I'm warning the DOJ, be careful. Be careful. Because if you do what I think you might do, and what might be milling around in my audience's mind right now is, well, they'll just pick and choose who to possibly release, right? They'll pick and choose what names they make available in these reports. Well, I'll tell you right now, if it does come out and nothing but left and Democrat mouthpieces, celebrities, writers, whoever, politicians, if it's all, every one of them, somebody from the left, somebody who maybe donates to Democratic campaigns or supports them in some way, if it's all them, we see you. It's not going to fly.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. Now back to Brett Breaks Things, smashing spin, silencing the noise, and keeping it all facts. No fluff.
Now, one thing that got me thinking, if they do try to do that, by the way, if they try to release just Democrats, just left-wing money or mouthpieces or celebrity, if they try to do that, we may need a forensic auditor. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. You may remember in Arizona, after the 2020 election, right-wing money hired the cyber ninjas, a forensic auditor, to go through the election results in Arizona. Now, they found nothing. But these groups exist. These companies exist. When somebody tells you one thing and you believe the other is true, when it's that heavily imprinted on that many machines, files, computers, servers, when it's been through the ringer electronically, you can get a forensics auditor to come and take a look, see what may have been deleted, left out, copies, places that they may not know. There are ways to get the truth if they try to doctor the list, be selective, to damage just political enemies. If they try that, there are avenues. There are. Now, it continued. It continued in Congress. Okay, here's McGovern. We've heard a lot from him lately. He's great. Here's McGovern.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, my head's about to explode. That guy just voted to increase the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. And trying to blame Democrats for Jeffrey Epstein. Who was president when Jeffrey Epstein died in his cell? Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
And who's in charge now and blocking the release of the files? Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Keep that in mind. As you try to blame the Democrats, say people are doing the Democrats' bidding. MAGA, you're out here doing the Democrats' work. No. Donald Trump's fingerprints are all over this. Keep that in mind. Now we're going to hear from Stansbury, Melanie Stansbury. She's a Democrat out of New Mexico. This is fun. This is fun.
Mr. Speaker, you guys are so weak that you won't even vote to release the files. It's 11:20 p.m. in the middle of the night, and
the gentlelady will suspend. The gentlelady will suspend. The House is not in order. The gentlelady will suspend. The House is not in order.
The House is not in order. You're trying to jam it through in the middle of the night. Get him, Melanie. Get him. Sometimes you just got to say these things. And Melanie Stansbury's here for it. The House is not in order. I agree. The House is not in order. Here's Khanna talking about the bipartisan movement, the bipartisan legislative initiative to get these files released.
The American people, Republicans, Independents, Democrats, want the Epstein files released with the victim's identity protected. Now, most people don't understand how this town works, so I'm going to try to explain this really simply. Congressman Massey and I introduced a bipartisan bill to release all the Epstein files and to make sure victims were protected. There are 10 Republican co-sponsors of that bill, including MAGA stalwarts like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene.
What?
Including Lauren Boebert, including Tim Burchett. And we have the votes tonight to pass it. But what happened is in the Rules Committee, they don't want to have this vote tonight because they know they're going to lose, because they know their own members want to vote for it. What's even sillier is they had this non-binding resolution. So I thought, surely we would vote on a non-binding resolution. They don't even want to vote on the non-binding resolution in case Donald Trump gets slightly offended. They don't even want the vote on the non-binding resolution tonight.
And so what I heard there out of Roe, when he starts talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene's on board, and Lauren Boebert's on board, and Tim Burchett's on board, what I hear is, hey, Republican wackos, the wackos are on board. All your favorite wackos are here with it. They're on board. You should get on board too. It was a nice little exchange in the Rules Committee between McGovern and Austin Scott. I wanted to play this for you. Oh, Jesus. Not this one. Okay, so they got in a little tit for tat. McGovern saying, hey, we should release these files. We have made it so we can protect the victims. And Scott fires back, you're not protecting anybody. You're disrespecting the victims. You're not going to protect anybody. They get in this tit for tat. It becomes a whole thing. And McGovern, he lays it out right here. Or not. Or not. So McGovern, McGovern goes on to say, look, Trump pushed this for years. He pushed it for years. Trump and his allies pushed this narrative for years. What are the Democrats hiding? What's in those files? They should be released. Epstein's a bad guy. We need to know who's at the island, who did what. He pushed it for years. and now they're blocking its release. And McGovern's simply saying, you either were lying then or you're covering it up now. There's no two ways about it. Okay? That's it. That's it. You're either lying then or you're covering it up now. There's no other way to see this. As your, lackeys in Congress, in the House and the Senate, block after block after block of any initiative to get these files released. Yeah. Looks like we got it queued up elsewhere. I want you to hear this real quick. They're such children. Here we go.
Committee meets at 4, and we were already in this room when you signed it and put it in. It was a political stunt. That's all it was, and we're going to give you a solution to it.
And if you read the amendment, Mr. Scott, you would realize that there are exceptions to protect the victims of these crimes. And by the way, our language has been out.
No, there are not. There are not.
In the Massey Khanna bill, there are.
That is not what you offered. That is not what you offered. You said all the files, and we have a responsibility to protect the victims. And we know where you are.
Yeah, we know where you are, Mr.
You're the party of child victims. That's why you opened the border. That's why you opened the border. How many committee meets at 4, and we were already in?
You're the party of child victims. That's what Scott had the audacity to sit there and say to Jim McGovern. You're the party of child victims. Come on. That's why you opened the border. Open the border. More people were detained in Biden's administration than were in Trump's first administration. All right? Don't give me that open border crap in the middle of a whole different discussion. So full of crap. Yeah, let's play that one too. Yeah, here's McGovern in the clip I mentioned that didn't play.
Why would anyone vote against releasing files that we've been told, by the way, by the president, by your attorney general, by your director of the FBI, by his deputy director? We have been told by them that these files show the identities of those who knew that Jeffrey Epstein was sexually abusing children. So I hope all of you had a chance to consult your constituents and your conscience, and I hope that you will vote with us when I again offer a simple amendment to release the files. Because either one of two things is true. Either one of two things is true. Either there's nothing here, and Trump made all this up and conned you guys into believing it. In that case, why would you vote against releasing files that don't exist?
Right.
Or there are files, and you guys want to keep them hidden because you're afraid what's in them.
Boom.
Which is it?
Which is it?
And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back.
That simple. How can you even argue with that logic? You can't. It's too logical. Makes too much sense. Makes too much sense. It's very obvious. So the Resolution Committee, the Rules Committee, shot that down. Boom, done. We're not going to put that amendment into this defunding. And in the Senate, Gallego, Rubin. No, this is definitely in the Senate. Gallego in the Senate wanted to have a resolution to get the files through in the Senate. All right, let's see if this plays.
Enough with the secrets. The American people deserve the truth. So I'm calling on my fellow senators to join me in demanding the Department of Justice release the Epstein files to restore public trust, affirm institutional accountability, and to prevent the politicization of justice. With that, as if in legislative session and notwithstanding Rule 22, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of S.R. 325 submitted earlier today. Further, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Is there an objection?
Is there an objection?
I reserve the right to object.
There he is.
The senator from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Mr. President, this is nothing but political theater. It's so obvious that the Democrats are just using this for a political football. If they were really serious about it, what happened the last 4 years? Or were they silent? Doing nothing but covering up for an absent president? And now all of a sudden they want to talk about transparency? We haven't even figured out who ran the White House the last 4 years.
There it is.
Now all of a sudden they want to make something of this? Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
If there's
Hey, I'm Mark Wayne Mullins. I'll fight you. Fight me over it, Gallego. I'll fight you. America. I hate Mark Wayne Mullen. I hate him. Don't like that dude. Nothing to like there. And he'll fight you. Listen to who, we got a couple voices that also are kind of calling this out, seeing it for what it is. Voices you may not expect to be calling Trump out like this. Let's do a little tour.
President Trump said that Jeffrey Epstein matter is a hoax. Last week, his Justice Department said there were more than 1,000 victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Last summer, Trump said he was open to declassifying all the relevant files and the Epstein client list, and that his suicide looked suspicious. How can all those things be true and it be a hoax? I don't understand where things stand with all this.
I think the time has come for the administration to release all of the files regarding Jeffrey Epstein's investigation and prosecution. It's important that we protect the names of the victims. They should be excluded from any disclosure. But whether or not the facts justify charges, I think that anyone who participated or was associated with this despicable man ought to be held up to public scrutiny.
I agree with you, Mike Pence. Totally agree with you, Mike Pence. There's going to be some other people that I never agree with that I'm going to agree with. But I agree with you, Mike Pence. I agree with you. Man, Nick Fuentes. You want to talk about an enigma? Nick Fuentes has become an enigma. Yes, he is a misogynist, a racist, a white nationalist, anti-Semite. Yes, he is all these things. But lately, he's been right a couple times.
And now he says, if you're not on board with the Epstein cover-up, oh, I don't want your support. You're a weakling. You suck. You are fat. You are a joke. You are stupid. You are not funny. You are not as smart as you think you are. You are, and honestly, and if you watch my show, you know I've been very critical. I've never been this far. This just goes to show this entire thing has been a scam. When we look back on the history of populism in America, we are going to look back on the MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history. And the liberals were right. The MAGA supporters were had. They were. When we look back in history, we will see Trump as a scam artist.
Wow. We will see Trump as a scam artist, says Nick Fuentes. By the way, Maureen Comey, the daughter of James Comey, the one who initially prosecuted Epstein, he also prosecuted Diddy just a little bit ago. She's been fired. Boom. No reason. Fired. Just Trump unilaterally just fired her. One of the more successful prosecutors in New York. And she wrote a letter. She wrote a letter to her fellow DOJ colleagues. I'm going to leave you with this. Yesterday was unexpectedly my last day in office. I was summarily fired via memo from Maine Justice that did not give any reason. Every person lucky enough to work in this office constantly hears 4 words to describe our ethos: without fear or favor. Do the right thing, the right way, for the right reasons, without fear of retribution, without favor to the powerful. The letter goes on. She's been fired. Retribution. Remember he promised he'd be the retribution president as well?
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Brett breaks things because someone has to.
All right. Time to change gears. Got one more segment. We've been absolutely excited, anxious, chomping at the bit to bring you a little bit more Alligator Alcatraz stuff because it is an absolute travesty. And that also has been developing a little bit more as we've been kind of stiff-arming this story a little bit. And now it has blossomed. Like I told you, it's matured. It's blossomed. Let's get a whiff. Now, three congressmen, 2 congressmen and a congresswoman were planning on taking a trip out to Alligator Alcatraz, right? They wanted to see it for themselves. That type of oversight is not only allowed, it's necessary. And they plan to do that. Senator Carlos Guillermo Smith, Maxwell Frost, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. They all planned to show up. They kind of wanted it to be unannounced and take a look at the facility. Well, word got out, and they were invited. Just before they decided to head out, they were invited to come see Alligator Alcatraz. Now, I'm going to open with Maxwell Frost. He's the one that a couple weeks ago I showed you that clip. We're in the middle of the One Big Beautiful Bill debate in the Rules Committee. He comes out with, this is the party that doesn't care about dead children. He kind of shocked them all, kind of like, which was, I thought it was maybe, I don't know, a little crowbarred in, but definitely good theater. He was one of the people that went out there, and he had some stuff to say about it, and we're going to get into it.
I rise today to shine light on a moral atrocity going on in my home state of Florida. An immigrant internment camp that Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, and his administration have propped up in the middle of an abandoned airfield deep in the Florida Everglades. A place where nearly 1,000 humans are being forced to live in a tent city in the middle of the hot Florida summer, hot sun, where folks are not getting enough food. Detainees are exposed to the heat, wildlife, mosquitoes that can potentially carry disease, stripped of their civil rights, and as of this past Saturday, cut off from legal counsel. And while this humanitarian nightmare unfolds, soulless politicians like Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, grin and call this place, I'm actually not even going to use the name that they're calling it and dignify it, but they sell merch, they make jokes, they print hats with cartoon alligators dressed up as ICE agents, and they laugh as people and families are suffering.
Okay. He goes on to describe it. But I'm going to give you a couple accounts. But here, overall, just a little information. It is in Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport in Everglades, Florida. That's exactly where it is, if you want to go protest. It's going to cost about $450 million annually. But how did it get built? We're going to talk about that. How much did it cost? Where did that money come from to build it initially? We're going to talk about that. It holds up to 3,000 detainees right now. There's around, from the accounts that we're getting, 750 detainees currently in the facility. It was the main contractor was Critical Response Strategies with a $78 million contract, and it has 1,000 staff, including ICE, National Guard, and private hires. That always goes well. Blackwater, anyone? Here's some conditions reported by guards and detainees, and we're going to get into detailed reports because some reporting has come out from it. No permanent structures, limited electricity and running water, mosquito infestation in showers, sleeping areas, detainees not provided repellent, sewage issues, portable toilets backed up, foul smells, limited showers and hygiene. Some went days without showering, no deodorant, no toothbrushes, heat and humidity, air conditioning failures, illness risk, pus at surgical sites. Ugh. Meals, often just cold sandwiches or snacks, as one detainee described it. That's all they get. Rainwater leaked into tents. Some tents flooded during Trump's visit. Detainees reported limited access to lawyers. And one detainee, Juan Javier Gonzalez, said, quote, "The mosquitoes don't let you sleep." Now, a lawsuit has been filed by the ACLU and the Americans for Immigrant Justice. The allegations are inhumane conditions, blocked legal access. The named defendants in this lawsuit, well, the Governor Ron DeSantis, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and a few other officials. Okay? Now, those officials, they have denied allegations. They say that detainees are getting clean water, full-size showers, AC, regular meals. DeSantis defends the site, calls it quick processing center with runway access for deportations. And despicable DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin, quote, "No lawbreakers in the history of human civilization have been treated better. And yet all they do is complain." Hey. Tricia is very, very despicable. I encourage you to dig into some of her more quotable excerpts, some of the stuff she said on camera, into a mic. She's a really bad person. She's not a good person. The New York Times reported on it. The New York Times reported on it. The men at the new immigrant detention center in the Florida Everglades have no pencils, books, or television. The lights stay on through the night. When it rains, which is nearly every day during the summer, the tents housing detainees spring leaks and bugs crawl in. In phone interviews, several detainees described infrequent showers, meals that amounted to little more than snacks, other detainees falling ill with flu-like symptoms and sleep deprivation. One detainee, Rick Herrera, described it as a tinder box. Most detainees at the center do not have criminal convictions. No convictions. Most of them, no convictions. According to a government official with knowledge of the data who requested anonymity because the official was not authorized to discuss any of this. We need these whistleblowers, especially right now. At least some were transfers from local jails who had been taken into custody after getting pulled over in traffic violations. Others had been transferred here through ICE custody. Only 60% of the center's detainees either have a criminal conviction in their past or criminal charges pending against them. And Mr. DeSantis is considering opening another site. And we'll get to that in a second. Even the guards spoke out. Even the guards spoke out. Guards and detainees alike report a lack of clean water, swarming mosquitoes, rainwater leaks, and other inhumane conditions. 3 former guards at the facility told the Post, and this is Cheyenne McNeil reporting through Salon.com. They were referencing a Post article. 3 former guards at the facility told the Post that they were drawn to the job because of the pay. $26 an hour with significant overtime opportunities. That's $39 an hour for overtime. They found the work to be particularly brutal and mosquito-ridden. The mosquitoes filling all the bathrooms, the showers. You go to the shower, you shower with 1 million mosquitoes. They've been told to buddy up when taking trips to the latrine because of alligators, Florida panthers, and venomous snakes. Debbie Wasserman Schultz had some stuff to say about it.
Let's be clear, throughout this entire tour, it was repeated over and over that the state is working hand in glove with ICE. This facility was inspected by ICE. They review their detention standards. They are using cages. These detainees are living in cages.
Yeah, she continues to describe it. Carlos Guillermo Smith's account was very similar to what Maxwell, Frost, and Debbie there described. All 3 of them described a very similar situation, what's being played out here in the reporting. And I mentioned the payment. How do they pay for it? Well, TalkingPointsMemo.com and reporter Hunter Walker did some digging on this, did some great reporting on this. And I'm just going to give you the points because we got to get through this. TMP has obtained and analyzed over a dozen contracts and invoices related to the construction and operation of Alligator Alcatraz. The documents identify 8 previously undisclosed companies, including 2 firms with a Fortune 500 pedigree. Involved with, they also show that in at least one instance, resources were allocated for the state's disaster preparedness. Yes. Allocated from the state's disaster preparedness fund. Contracts and invoices totaling $19 million and change in the Florida Accountability Contract Tracking System, or FACTS, that were issued to 9 different firms. In one instance, the chief executive of a company contacted by TMP stated that he was unaware the business products were being used for detention camps. That is a common theme. Many of the companies that were contracted to provide different aspects of Alcatraz, they had no idea what they were taking part in. No idea it was going to a detention center. They weren't told. And the FACTS system that I just described to you, which is maintained by the state's Department of Financial Services, lists all of these contracts and invoices as coming from the executive office of the governor and categorizes them as emergency procurement per executive order. Unilaterally, executive order, we are taking your state's preparedness fund to build this internment camp, period. Hard stop. Ron wanted to do it, so he did it with your cash. In hurricane season. In hurricane season, he is putting you and your families in Florida's lives at stake, literally, to push through this $500 million per year boondoggle detainment center that is inhumane. And they're not stopping. They're not stopping. Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem has suggested that a Florida migrant detention camp known as Alligator Alcatraz could be used as a blueprint for other states. She named some other states. Texas said, Texas will continue to assist the Trump administration in arresting, detaining, and deporting illegal immigrants. Mississippi said, we will do whatever it takes to support President Trump's immigration agenda. These are the places being proposed. South Carolina, another place proposed for another site. Governor Henry McMaster has directed his state officials to keep exploring how the Palmetto State's unique assets can be utilized to this end. They're all on board. He's got allies. What state is he going to go spend the emergency preparedness fund from next to get these things built? They're lining up for him.
They'll try to repair the narrative, but Brett Breaks Things will be back Monday to break it all down.